Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Geek Report, your bi-weekly dose of news. We will cover some top news stories in the world of movies and TV, as well as gaming. Now let's look at the top news stories for the weeks of May 20th, 2025 to June 3rd, 2025.
Hey everyone, hope everyone's doing good. Hope you all are doing happy, doing blessed, and doing overall safe. Welcome to your Geek Report for the weeks of May 20th through June the 3rd of 2025. Before I get started, I do want to apologize for being a little late. Things happened that were just completely out of my control, okay? So I do want to apologize for being so late with this update. But with that said, let's get started. So, we're going to start off in our TV and movie news segment, and we're going to talk about the new trailer for Jurassic World Rebirth. I'm going to look at this trailer and just talk about it a little bit. Then we got a trailer for an upcoming animated series over on Hulu called Predator Killer of Killers. I looked at the trailer for this, and this just came out of the blue for me. And we're going to kind of talk about this a little bit, and I'm going to give you some of my overall impressions of it. Then in other movie news, we got news that a Rambo prequel movie is in the works. Now, we don't have a trailer. We just know that it is being shopped around at Cannes for someone to fund it, that Sylvester Stallone is not a part of it. But I'm going to tell you what I found out about it, and I'll just give you some of my thoughts on it. And then we close out our movie and TV news with Disney. And some more films and projects that have been pushed back. I'm going to talk about what this all can mean, especially given some news we got today as I'm recording this, and overall what I think of this. And then we close out our Geek Report for this 2 weeks with some gaming news. And that is that Cyberpunk 2077, which at one time was called Codename Orion, has officially been given the official name Cyberpunk 2 and has entered pre-production. We're going to talk about what this all means, and I'm just going to give you some of my thoughts on it. So sit back, relax, grab yourself something to eat, grab yourself something to drink, and let's look at the Geek Report for the weeks of May 20th through June the 3rd of 2025.
Our first segment tonight is our movie and TV news segment.
So, starting off this episode of the Geek Report, we got a new trailer from Jurassic World Rebirth. Now, this movie is coming out in July, okay? Which I really don't have a problem with. But right now, I'm not too overly hyped for this, okay? Because they're not bringing back Chris Pratt. They're not bringing back Bryce Dallas Howard. And the trailers are it's basically introducing us to a whole new cast of characters, okay? So, let's take a look at the trailer. And I'm going to give you some of my thoughts and opinions on it. But this here is the second trailer for the upcoming movie Jurassic World Rebirth. Now, already, they're kind of going into that same over trope we've already seen before. Of they went and they created a genetic monster and we gotta go and stop it or something along those lines, okay? It's already showing us what's been shown before in the other movies, you know, where you're talking about Blue or the other dinosaurs that they've created, okay? Not the originals from way, way long ago, but new genetic anomalies they've created, okay? So I'm not really caring about that. Just to be honest. I mean, we've seen that before, and it's just replaying the same trope over again.
Sorry. Please open the door for me.
On the island we're headed to?
Now, there we saw Scarlett Johansson. She's one of the new characters they're introducing to us. Look, I liked Chris Pratt and I like Bryce Dallas Howard as characters. I'm not sure if they're going to bring back Jeff Goldblum or any of the other characters from the Jurassic World movies. But this whole trailer, both this one and the first one, they're really introducing a whole new cast of characters to this world. Okay? And let's just hope it works out. I mean, Scarlett Johansson, you know, she can make anything work, really. Okay? She did Black Widow well. Okay? She has done so many films well. I'm just hoping that she can do this one, too.
Headed to? 24 species have survived there alone.
The theme park owners did experimental work, leaving only the worst ones here.
Okay, I want to show this scene again because I think it's really important that we see this scene again because they give you a big piece of information of where this movie is going to take place.
Survived there alone.
The theme park.
Now, that right there shows you that we are going back to if I can ever get it here, we are going back to one of the islands, okay? One of the original islands. Either Isa Nebula or Isa Sorna, okay?
The theme park owners did experimental work, leaving only the worst ones here.
Okay, what she said right there, leaving only the worst ones here, that harkens back to what they call Site B, which was in Jurassic Park 2. So, by my understanding, we're going to Isa Sorna in this movie. We're going to Site B. Unless, we're talking about another company other than Engine or something like that, we're going back to Site B, by all accounts.
See that every day.
Or ever.
Let's go.
If we get this DNA, millions of lives are saved.
Okay, there they go, digging into the whole problem DNA issue here, trying to get samples of DNA for something. Okay, and we all know it's probably going to turn out to be some type of weapon or something along those lines. But we've seen this trope before in the other Jurassic Park movies. Okay, and now we're seeing it again. It's like they're replaying the greatest hits. Alright.
Maybe we should make this quick, huh? Time to move.
We put ourselves in a place where we don't belong. Survival is a long shot.
That's kind of our specialty.
She's scared. She's scared of.
Come on, run!
Now, that is obviously one of the new dinosaurs they've created. Okay? Because I don't recognize that dinosaur for all the tea in China. But it looks like it has several different parts to it. It looks like it's got the hardened head from one of the dinosaurs. Okay, so I'm going to try to say this name, but the dome head of this one reminds me of the Pacliocephalosaurus. And I probably butchered that name. We saw that dinosaur in Jurassic Park 2 during the big hunt when they all came to hunt dinosaurs and they were trying to capture a whole bunch of them. We saw them in that scene. That's really the only time I remember seeing them since Jurassic Park dropped. Any of the Jurassic Park or Jurassic World movies. So this is definitely some type of mutation they created. Alright. And there we got the date, which will be July 2nd. And I think July 2nd is a good day. Okay. Because it leaves enough breathing room right now for Ballerina to really get going and be in theaters for a little bit. Because Ballerina, as a recording of this video, comes out week after next. Okay? So, by the time this comes out, Ballerina would have probably been out for at least 3 weeks. So maybe all the hype around Ballerina would have died out by then. Okay, so far I'm liking the release date of July 2nd. My only problem is that it comes right on July 3rd and the 4th of July. So it may not get as much viewing as it normally does because of the holidays, but it also might. Okay. So that's really what I'm thinking about in terms of release date. That's really the only problem I see right now is the 4th of July. But July 2nd, not really a bad thing.
We're not gonna let you get hurt, okay?
Then was the source. We found it?
No, it found us.
So that was the trailer for Jurassic World Rebirth. Look, this trailer really didn't get me on the hype train for this. Alright? And like I've said before, it takes a pretty decent investment for me to go see a movie. Okay? We're talking close to $100 for me to go see anything in theaters. Because the nearest theater is literally an hour away. So you're talking gas and food and if I have to buy other people's tickets and that sort of thing. Okay? So you're talking a pretty decent investment if I want to go see anything in theaters. And I know people are going to say, well, there's also, renting it online and stuff like that. But I don't really do that. Okay? If I'm going to go see a theater-released movie, I want to see it in theaters, not from the comfort of my home. Nothing against the comfort of my home. It's just there's a big difference between seeing it on a freaking huge screen at the theater and seeing it at home from your TV. Okay? There just is. Alright? But really, there isn't nothing in this trailer that's got me hyped, that's got me excited, that makes me want to see it. Not only are we being introduced to new characters with Scarlett Johansson and some of the others, we're also being introduced to new creatures. Not just the original dinosaurs, but these mutations all around, Whether you're talking about this thing right here, which I don't even know what they're going to call it, but it definitely has the dome of the Pachycephalosaurus, or however you say that name. It definitely has that dome shape. And then we saw other ones, like this thing right here, which looks like a cross between a pterodactyl and a raptor. Okay. So not only are they introducing us to new characters, they're introducing us to new creatures. Okay. Creatures that are not dinosaur related, although they were created from dinosaurs. But they're not dinosaurs that we know them. They're mutations. And to be quite honest, it just feels like Jurassic World is getting away from the core tenets that made it and Jurassic Park so great. That Jurassic World is getting away from the core tenets that made it so great. Us taking genetic manipulation and bringing back extinct species from the past. Okay, we saw that in Jurassic Park 2, Jurassic Park 3. We saw that in the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, Jurassic World Dominion. But Jurassic World Rebirth honestly feels like a reimagining of the whole idea of the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World mythos. Okay? It literally feels like they're starting from scratch doing all this stuff. Okay? And I really don't know how I feel about that. Because the Jurassic Park movies are so good movies. Especially 1 and 2. You know, maybe you didn't like 3. Maybe you didn't like Jurassic World or Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom or Dominion. But 1 and 2 were good. I enjoyed Jurassic World. I enjoyed Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. But now it just seems like Jurassic World Rebirth has gone too far away from those core tenets that made the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movies so good. But it is coming out in July, this July. Good time frame. It's got Scarlett Johansson in it. I'm pretty sure it's going to have some thrills and chills with it. I just feel at this moment, based on what I'm seeing in these 2 trailers, it's gotten too far away from the core tenets of the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World mythos.
Continuing on with this week's TV and movie news segment.
So, in 1987, there was a film called Predator. It starred Arnold Schwarzenegger, where he was basically a special forces soldier going up against an alien hunter whose entire culture revolved around hunting. Okay? And he went up against this creature. Fast forward to 1990, we get a sequel called Predator 2. Only this time it's taking place in the middle of Los Angeles, in the middle of a gang war. And it starred Danny Glover and Bill Paxton, who were basically doing the same thing. They were discovering this creature, this alien, was hunting all these gang members and basically, you know, hunting them like any person would hunt a deer or a duck or something, okay? And since then, there's been a number of movies. You know, we've had Predators, we've had The Predator, you know, we've had a number of movies, okay? But we've never really had any type of series. And I will be honest with you, I'm not full on into the mythos of The Predator, okay? I'm not full on in the mythos of it. But maybe this series will help. And it's coming on Hulu. It's going to be an animated series, and it's called Predator, Killer of Killers. By all accounts, they are taking a Star Wars Visions approach to this. They are going to have a series of episodes that are not going to be really connected in any way, but are basically going to be different tales of the Predator throughout history. Okay? Based on the trailer, from what I've seen, we have seen tales taking place in Norse time, when the Norse were raiding the world. We've seen it from the samurai. We've seen it during possibly World War I or World War II. It's basically going to be different episodes focusing on different characters, and these characters going up against the Predator. Okay? So let's take a look at the trailer. This series will be premiering on Hulu. But let's take a look at the trailer, and I'll give you some of my thoughts and opinions on it. But this here is the trailer for the upcoming series, Predator, Killer of Killers.
My son, tell me why we fight.
Now, this right here seems like it's taking place during the time of the Norse, which was... So, during this time, based on what I'm seeing here, this is taking place during the Viking Age, or right around that time. So, you're talking around 1065 BC. Okay, so it's in between that time when the Vikings were basically raiding up and down the coastlines, when they were basically just pillaging, and the time of the Vikings. Okay, so that's really when this is taking place. This part of the trailer right here.
Because our enemy still lives.
You all have traveled far.
Now, this right here looks very much modern, like World War II-ish, World War I-ish time frame right here. This scene right here.
Miss the warmth of home.
And this right here is obviously of the samurai age in Japan. So we're going to have one that takes place in the Viking Age, one that takes place a little bit more modern, like World War II-ish, and we're going to have another one that takes place during the Samurai Age. So, if it is taking place during the time of the Samurai, you're probably looking around 1868, somewhere in that neighborhood in Japan. So, somewhere around that neighborhood.
But tonight, think of only one thing. Killing the monster.
And that right there was the Predator. He looks different than what I've seen before. Okay? And I'm kind of wondering if we're not going to get a different Predator per episode. Not just the same Predator, but a different one per episode. Now, according to the lore, from what I understand, the Predators are drawn to places of conflict. Okay? So each episode will probably focus on a different time period of conflict. Okay? And we saw a new weapon there. I'm not sure what you're going to call that weapon. So, it looks like a whip of some sort.
You're not hearing me. There's something else up in the sky.
And by the looks of things, and if I can get back here, we're not only just going to see the Predator attack on the ground, but in the air too. And it's all because of this scene right here. So we're not only just going to see him attacking in the ground, but in the air from his ship as well. So I think this series is really going to explore the lore of the Predator and actually expand the lore from what we already know from the previous movies.
You're not hearing me. There's something else up in the sky. And it's not human.
I pray you bloody your spear tonight. You are ready now.
That I also think that this is also competing with Ballerina a little bit. Okay?
There's only one way to kill it. We must fight together.
Here we go. What happens if we survive?
So, that was Predator, Killer of Killers. It drops on June the 6th. I think it's going to revolve around 3 different stories. I think you're going to have the Vikings, the World War II story, and the Samurai stories going on in this series. And they are taking kind of a Star Wars Visions approach to it. Alright, in that they are using these animated films to kind of fill out the lore a little bit. Alright, but unlike Visions, I'm wondering, is this going to be official lore, or is this going to be more like Visions, where it's just stories told in the sandbox of Star Wars, where it's not really lore? But yeah, that was Predator, Killer of Killers. I have to say, I'm kind of interested to see this one. You know, it comes out on Hulu on June the 6th, so I am kind of interested to see this one, because, you know, I enjoyed the first Predator movie and the second one. I haven't really seen any of the other Predator movies, but I'm kind of interested to see what they do with Predator, turning him into an animated series, and how they're going to fill out the lore a little bit. But yeah, this is very interesting to me. You know, I think it looks good, and I think it's going to revolve around three basic stories. One taking place during the Viking Age, one taking place during World War II, and another one taking place during the Samurai. So I'm kind of interested to see this one come out on June the 6th, and I might very well check it out.
Continuing on with this week's TV and movie news segment.
So this next story is something I really don't know how I feel about yet, because there's still so little information. Okay? But in order to tell this story, we have to go back a little ways. Alright, we have to kind of go back a little bit and talk about another movie. So, I'm a child of the 80s. Okay? Full on will admit that. I love 80s movies. Whether you're talking about Tango and Cash, The Terminator, the Mission and Action movies, Red Dawn. But the biggest out of them was Rambo First Blood Parts 1 and 2. Okay? I mean, First Blood came out in 82. Okay? And basically created the mythos of Rambo. Okay? This totally kick-butt Special Forces soldier who can literally... Basically, he's the MacGyver of warfare. Okay? He can literally do anything with as little as possible. Okay? And since then, we have First Bloods Parts 1 and 2. We've had Rambo 3. We've had Rambo. And then we had Rambo Last Blood. Okay? And even the worst of the movies. Okay? Even the worst of the movies, I absolutely loved. Okay? Sylvester Stallone's portrayal of Rambo is iconic. Okay? It's going to be one of those characters that anytime you hear their name, you're going to think Sylvester Stallone. Okay? I mean, when you think Sylvester Stallone, you think of two characters, Rambo and Rocky. Both of them the men's men who can take charge, kick butt, and just go full tilt rock and roll express on anyone they come across. Okay? That's basically what these characters are. But for today's video, we're going to talk about Rambo. Okay? Now, the last Rambo movie we got was Rambo Last Blood. Okay? And I thought that it basically put a cherry on top of the entire series. Okay? That Rambo had come full circle. In Rambo, the Rambo 4 I'm talking about, there's a scene where General Troutman tells Rambo that you have to come to terms with what you are. That you are a full-blooded combat soldier.
When are you going to come full circle?
What are you talking about?
You said that your war is over. Now, maybe the one out there is, but not the one inside you. I know the reasons you're here, John, but it doesn't work that way. You may try, but you can't get away from what you really are.
What do you think I am?
A full-blooded combat soldier.
In Rambo Last Blood, he finally did that. Okay? At the end of Rambo 4, he tried to come home and put all that behind him. But I think in Last Blood, he finally realized what he was. He was a soldier, a fighter, a warrior. Okay? Because at the beginning of the movie of Rambo Last Blood, he was trying to be something he wasn't. He was trying to be this farmer, just living a simple life when, just like Troutman said, he was a full combat soldier and he needed to come to terms with that. And I think that whole entire movie was about him coming to terms with what he was. And I think the perfect quote for Last Blood would be, "Beware of old men in professions where young men die." Okay? I think that is the perfect quote to really summarize Rambo Last Blood. Okay? Now then, this past 2 weeks, May 16th, we got news that they are making a Rambo prequel. Okay? And this is coming from Screen Rant. And we go on down here and it says, a Rambo prequel is officially in development. Okay? And it talks about, the First Blood. The first movie grossed $160.3 million. is bringing the prequel titled John Rambo to the Cannes market. Now, this is the Cannes Film Festival. This is where people try to get their films like produced and stuff. It said the movie, which is scheduled to begin shooting in Thailand this October, will follow the character's exploits during the war. The project has a team attached that includes director Jalmari Halando and screenwriting team Roy Hands and Sorab Nasharami. It says here, Sylvester Stallone is currently not attached to the movie in any capacity, though that may change. Alright. This is a big problem with me. Okay? This is a huge problem with me. Because I think you have to have him as part of the movie somehow, some way. As a producer, as something. Because he was John Rambo for so long. You just can't cut him out. Okay? You have to have him as part of this movie somehow. I have a very big problem with that. Alright? That they don't have him as a part of this movie yet. But like I said, that could change. Okay? And I hope it does. Okay? Now, it goes on and says, from John Younger, okay, and this is one of the producers. It says, we are thrilled to introduce a fresh new chapter to the Rambo legacy. The project is a tribute to one of the best movie franchises in history that will appeal to both longtime fans and new audiences. With Jamari Hollander at the helm, a filmmaker of exceptional vision and energy, we found the perfect director to deliver a high-concept, action-packed experience. Let me say a couple of things about this. So first off, they have to have Sylvester Stallone in it at some capacity, okay? I don't care if he's a producer. I don't care if he's someone behind the scenes. I don't care how, okay? I would prefer if he did like a small part where at the beginning it kind of folds into Last Blood, where he's kind of thinking back to how his journey started and it goes into the movie, okay? But somehow, some way, you have to have Sylvester Stallone as a part of this project. Okay? If he is not a part of this project, then the longtime fans are going to wonder why he ain't a part of this project. They're going to ask themselves, why ain't the original Rambo a part of this project? Okay? We know why Richard Crenna, the original General Troutman, can't play. Because he died. But I think it should also be appropriate that his family somehow be involved in it. Okay? But I absolutely think that you should have Sylvester Stallone as a part of this production. Okay? Because I think that he will add support to it from the fans of these movies. Okay? And with the way Hollywood has been doing here lately, of taking these story franchises and just completely destroying them, I don't think that will happen with Sylvester Stallone. Because Rambo's his legacy. Okay? Full on, Rambo is his legacy. It's one of his big legacies. Rambo and Rocky are his legacy. When people think of Sylvester Stallone, they're going to think of John Rambo and Rocky. Okay? And I think that the reason that the Creed movies were so popular and so good was because they had Sylvester Stallone playing as Rocky in them. Okay? And I think the same thing should happen here. Even if he's just like an advisor on set or something. Okay? It will add authenticity to the movie. And it will show that the original Rambo has read through the script, gone through everything, and basically supports this. Alright? Now, with that being said, I am a little concerned because Hollywood has a tendency of ruining story franchises, okay? Now, I'm hoping that this will not happen with John Rambo, okay? I'm really hoping this will not happen. But we've seen this happen before. We've seen this happen with Star Wars. We've seen this happen with Star Trek. You know, and there's probably so many others that I haven't even thought of. But Hollywood has a tendency of trying to rewrite history. Okay? And I really hope they don't do that in such a way with John Rambo that it makes it impossible for you to see how John Rambo got started to where he ended up. Okay? And I think the big thing for me is it's got to have Sylvester Stallone behind it, because if it don't, it tells me that he doesn't support this. Okay? It really tells me that, hey, he read the script and there's something about it he don't like. Okay? And I really do hope they do keep the action. Okay? I really hope that they do keep the action and that they look through some of the movies for the lore surrounding this time frame. Okay? I really hope that they do that. Alright? But yeah, back to what I was saying. A John Rambo prequel movie is in development. It's being shopped around at the Cannes Film Festival to basically find a person to fund it. It does not have Sylvester Stallone attached to it yet, but it's going to be called John Rambo. And it's going to focus on his early years in the Vietnam War. Okay? Until more information comes out about this, I'm going to kind of keep my eye on this, because I really think that if you're going to get the old-time fans of John Rambo, the ones who remember him from the 80s, behind this film, you've got to get Sylvester Stallone behind it, and you've got to show that the original actors who played these iconic characters from the Rambo films support this film. If you don't, then I think a lot of the fans are going to be like, you know what? If he don't support this film, he sees something wrong with it. And until that happens, I think people are going to be a little apprehensive about this. But I think the moment you get Sylvester Stallone involved in this somehow, some way, then it's going to bring a lot of the fans, the old-time fans, over to your side. And it's going to give us some relief that there ain't no way that Sylvester Stallone will let such an iconic character like John Rambo go the way of Star Wars and Star Trek and become destroyed and broken by wokeness.
Continuing on with this week's TV and movie news segment.
Okay, now in our final TV and movie story, it's happened again, y'all. 2 Disney projects have been pushed back. Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. This is getting to be a joke at this point. Okay, and this is coming from Entertainment Weekly, and it's been confirmed by The Hollywood Reporter. And you scroll down here, and it says that the first Avengers movie, which will be titled Doomsday, was set to hit theaters on May 1st of next year, but instead will hit on December 18th of 2026. Now, we all know that Disney has had success in releasing things in December, whether you're talking about The Mandalorian or even some Marvel stuff, okay? But to push it back by that much kind of makes me wonder if something ain't going on, okay? If something ain't going on, okay? I could perhaps see 5 months, but a full 7 months, that's half a year, okay? And then we've got Avengers Secret Wars, which is being pushed back by almost a year. 7 months on that one. Okay. So you've got December 18th of 2026, you've got Doomsday. And then on December 17th of 2027, you've got Secret Wars. Okay? This is becoming a joke at this point. Okay? Because it seems like all the time we're getting these announcements. Oh, we're coming out with this and we're coming out with that. And I thought that was just Lucasfilm. But now, it's almost like it's the entirety of Disney at this point. Where announcements are made and they're either canceled or pushed back. You know, I didn't really want to talk about this long right now because we still don't have a trailer for either one of these. We still don't have like actual footage from either one of these. Okay, so I'm not going to really talk about this. Plus, you know, we've got Fantastic Four First Steps about to come out, And that's going to really show us what's in store in terms of Avengers and stuff. But yeah, I did want to talk about this a little bit, okay? Because, I mean, it's become like Disney stock and trade at this moment. Of announcing something, saying, okay, we're going to get it on this date. And then for some reason or another, they push it back by 7 months, 8 months, a year. And I just kind of have to wonder what's going on at Disney. You know, what is going on at Disney? Especially now that we got this dropping today, as I'm recording this. That Disney is announcing layoffs across TV, film, and corporate finance. Okay. And it just kind of got me wondering, you know, what's going on?
Now, moving on from the world of TV and movies, let's look at what happened this week in the world of video games.
So, one of the big games that I recently liked, and still like, even though I have not been able to play any of the DLC for it, I like the base game to it, was Cyberpunk 2077. And for a while now, we knew there was a sequel coming, and it was called, Project Orion, or codename Orion. Well, now we finally got confirmation that Cyberpunk 2 is coming. That's the official name of the sequel to Cyberpunk 2077, called Cyberpunk 2. That's no longer called codename Orion. It's called Cyberpunk 2. Okay, and it said that several weeks ago, the CDPR team responsible for the next big game completed the project's conceptual phase. As a result, Cyberpunk 2, the official name of the sequel, previously known under the codename Project Orion, has progressed to pre-production, codename Project Red said in its 2025 earnings report. So, what does this mean? So, they've settled on what all the characters are going to look like. The NPCs, the technology, and they're actually starting the coding on Cyberpunk 2077. Now, I don't think we'll see a trailer for at least a year. Okay? Especially after all the heat and hype around Grand Theft Auto 6 has died down a little bit. Okay? But what I do think will happen is we'll start seeing a little bit of the conceptual art that has come out surrounding Cyberpunk 2077, surrounding this game, Cyberpunk 2. And I think that the earliest we will get a trailer, and I could be wrong about this, but the earliest we will get a trailer will be next year. More than likely after Grand Theft Auto 6 hype has, kind of gone down a little bit, because they're not going to drop something while everyone's focused on Grand Theft Auto 6 or the next Call of Duty. They're not going to do it, okay? So, yeah. Officially, the sequel to Cyberpunk 2077 is called Cyberpunk 2. They have ended the conceptual phase of it, what everything's going to look like conceptual-wise in terms of drawing it and selling on, what this looks like, what that looks like, and they've actually started coding it and actually making it in their, development software. Okay? Hopefully we get more information about Cyberpunk 2 over the next year. But I think as far as dropping a trailer, I think you're still looking a good year out before they even consider dropping a trailer. But still, I like to hear that they are doing Cyberpunk 2, and I can't wait for it to drop and hit. Well, everyone, that was your Geek Report for the weeks of May 20th through June the 3rd of 2025. To kind of recap what we talked about, we first talked about the new trailer for Jurassic World Rebirth. I gave you some of my thoughts and opinions on it, and also told you why even this trailer has not got me excited for this movie. Then we looked at the Predator Killer of Killers trailer for Hulu, the animated series that's dropping soon. And I have to say, this one has got me not hyped, but really interested to see it, okay? Because I'm very much getting a Star Wars Visions vibe to it, and I absolutely love Star Wars Visions. Then we got some news about a Rambo prequel movie in the works, and some of my thoughts and fears concerning this idea. I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad idea, but it does need some things behind it to really get both old and new fans excited for it. And then we talked about the fact that the Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars films were pushed back by 7 months. And how this is becoming a trend at Disney, and I'm beginning to wonder if perhaps we ain't seeing the demise of Disney Plus. Then we close out our Geek Report with some cyberpunk news, and how Cyberpunk 2077 is now officially titled Cyberpunk 2 and has officially entered pre-production. I hope you guys are doing good. Hope you guys are staying well, staying healthy, staying safe. Check out some of my other video and my social media sites at the end of this video. I will see you guys in the next video and in the next stream. Laters.
Thank you for watching this week's Geek Report. I hope you enjoyed it. Please check out my other video sites as well as my social media. And if you can please, leave a like and a comment on this video. We will see you guys in the next video and the next stream. Laters.